you through the home buying process. Welcome back to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
It's the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on WTMJ. If you have a question, you can reach us at 414-799-1620 or throughout the Midwest on the Accunet Mortgage toll-free talk line. That number's 1-800-877-1620. David Wickert now has an interesting story from the arena of disputed credit items, which can trip you up.
Yeah. So had a couple conversations this week and access credit for a couple folks. And in our review of their credit report, we come across the normal things like your current mortgage payment or current car payment or student loans or what have you. But sometimes when we run the loan particulars of a borrower through the automated software system, it comes back and it says, hey, we see these other credit lines that are marked as disputed. And that's one example. The other example might be credit lines, trade lines as they're called, that still have a balance even though they are marked as closed. And so, as Dad likes to say, we are creating mortgages according to the rule book that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac put together. And one of the things that kind of puts a fly in the mortgage ointment are disputed trade lines. And so it's sometimes an awkward conversation trying to rehash with people like, well, what is the history of this particular trade line? And so, Dad, I wanted to loop back to you on kind of what the two options are for someone who's got a disputed trade line and kind of like what is it that we can or cannot do when that's a finding that comes back from that automated software finding.
Sure. It's kind of an irony, I would say, because there's one federal regulation, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, that gives consumers the right to dispute items on their credit report. Okay, so it's like you have the legal, God-given American right to dispute that thing. That doggone, utility or credit card reported you late, and they were wrong, and I was right, so I dispute that. The problem is it removes that trade line from the analysis for the Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac automated underwriting decision. And so what really happens is you don't have a valid loan approval. So the Fannie Mae computer says to Accunet, hey, you know what? You've got to resolve that issue one way or the other. And in other words, it can't be in limbo anymore. The consumer either has to win and prove that that's not his or her fault or it wasn't a valid late payment, or they have to simply undispute it, which is kind of caving in. But one or the other has to happen. Now, if you dispute something on your credit report, the creditor has 30 days to respond. All right. So you say, hey, that's not mine. Steve, Toyota reported you late on your car loan. You can dispute that, but then Toyota has 30 days to respond. If they fail to respond, then you win. But if they come back and say, nope, here's the evidence that really is valid, and by the way, the arbiter of this is the credit bureau, and by credit bureau we mean TransUnion, Experian, or Equifax. If the creditor comes back and says, no, here's the valid documentation that Steve really was late on this car loan, well, then you lose. And then you have to undispute that trade line to move forward with the mortgage.